Hi everyone, welcome, and I apologize for being late. Um, sorry, sorry. Hi, sorry for being late. I was trying to get the Instagram on as well, so thank you. Uh, Welcome to Journeys in Ayurveda, and I call it your guide to holistic health. So my name is Usha Nagavarapu, and I will give you a short talk on Ayurveda today. I hope you'll enjoy what I tell you, and I am very confident that you all will leave with a better understanding of your health and about yourself. Can everybody hear me today? Hello? Hello? Hi, wanted to share my presentation, but I'm wondering how to do it. Sorry. So, something very important. How did I embark on this journey is always something that I want to talk about. Uh, what led me to study Ayurveda and how did I end up doing this? So, um, it's So I was looking at how do we reduce the impact on health. I was also like to look at causative factors or pathogenesis, and I was also interested in finding a cure. And these are some of the very important things that led me to embark on this journey. So there were always some very fundamental questions on my mind. How can we bring change in life, and or how change in life is inevitable, and how a life-changing event can help us find ourselves. So I was interested in finding who the real me was. Some of the questions I was looking answers for was like, how can we improve human health? How can we reduce issues for digestion, for example? There's so many people suffering. How can we help them? Like for people with cancer, diabetes, and other things. How can we prevent even depression, which is like plagues a lot of people? How do we find inner peace? How do we help people who are suffering from anxiety? And finally, I always thought of people suffering with skin diseases, and how can we help them? So there were so many questions, and I know Western practices and Western medicine tries to help and do a lot for many of these and all of these, and it does a marvelous job. But we're still looking for something that could be an alternative way of treating these patients and people and providing care, and also things that can be safe to use and also can be used for long term. So during this journey, I also realized that Ayurveda helps. It's one of the it's about Ayurveda is about reducing the impact on health. It is a way to help the mind, body, and also our consciousness. So it is something that can be helpful for prevention and as well as cure. It can also provide a cure. So it's preventative as well as curative. Ayurveda also believes that human is a microcosm, and it improves health and supports health. It's holistic. It's a diagnostic and its diagnostic and therapeutic approaches follow the principles of salutogenesis, they call, which is supporting human health and well-being. So Ayurveda's healing believes in primary, secondary, and tertiary prevention, and it gives patients the power to help themselves, what we can call self efficacy or patient self empowerment. It supports harmony at the physiological, psychological, at the social and environmental factors. So I felt Ayurveda was something that could help in prevention. It could encourage health. It also helps us to find a balance. Again, back to what I was saying, it helps balancing our mind, body, and also our consciousness. So what it does is in Ayurveda, what we believe is that there is a natural force inside us, and if we can tap into it, it will act as our natural healer. So that's something very similar to what Hippocrates had said, where he has said that natural healing um, force within each one of us is the greatest force in getting well. So Ayurveda focuses on constitution, our inner constitution, and bringing a balance to our inner constitution. Like I said before, it's for Ayurveda, prevention is very, very important, and balancing our health is a very critical thing in Ayurveda. And Ayurveda also believes that the primordial cause of all disease is when we forget who are what we are, our true nature. So again, so what happens is trying to bring a balance is what all Ayurveda does, is balance between our thoughts, our diet, and our lifestyle. As many of you probably already know, Ayurveda is a Sanskrit word, Ayu meaning life and Veda meaning knowledge. So it's Ayurveda. It's one of the oldest healing sciences, uh, simply meaning to know about your own life. It originated in India, they say about 5,000, roughly 5,000 years ago. It's part of the ancient Vedic culture and has been practiced in an unbroken tradition for more than 2000 years at least. It's taught from a guru or a teacher to a student, and then that's how it continues. And because of this practice, only a part of the knowledge or the part of the original knowledge is available for us. It's one of the sciences or one of the medicines that is recognized by WHO, and it's in holistic medicine. It deals with whole system. It's preventative, somewhat curative also, and it is holistic, right? So that's why I called it the whole system. It's also used as a complementary and alternative medicine. We call it the CAM, and in integrated settings in Europe and as well as in United States. Of course, in many countries around India and all, it is practiced quite heavily. And let's touch upon what are the Ayurvedic principles. In Ayurveda, health, like state of balance, is very important. I had already said that before as well. Ayurveda means balancing the mind, body, and consciousness. So, what is mind? Mind is when is what when it's functioning properly, it leads the body to happiness, right? So when we lose control of our mind, when we can't think very well, it can lead to suffering, uh, right? Body, we all know, is made up of organs. Like skin is one of the largest organ. It's like it's an organ that defends from what is inside from the outside. It's like an armor. Gut is our inside. It's also known as the secondary brain, second brain. It's in the digestive system. So body has many organs, brain, and skin, digestive system, and many other things. But also establishing a balance between happiness and suffering is very important for the body as well. Then there is something called consciousness. It's a part of a person that is believed to give life and purpose. That's what gives us life, right? What makes us feel who am I, makes us feel be kind to people and appreciate life, and all that comes from um, the consciousness. So Ayurveda believes that it's very important to balance our mind, body, and our consciousness. Okay, we are all connected to the world, and it's very important that we find a balance within ourselves. Okay, so I hope you're enjoying whatever you've learned so far, or whatever I have been able to say. Um, so Ayurveda also believes that we are made up of five elements. The five elements being water, earth, fire, space, and air. So human is composed of these elements, and it can be in different combinations or in different degrees, right? So these five elements combine, and then what happens is what we call as a constitution. So for Ayurveda, constitution is a key thing. So, or we can call that constitution as an energy, a functional energy that governs our happiness or how we think, how we eat, every single thing. And it's also the interplay between our body, our brain, our mind, and our consciousness again. So, Ayurveda believes that each person has a unique pattern of energy that is an individual combination of physical, mental, and emotional characteristics. And the constitution is determined at birth, so that's our innate constitution or our innate dominant energy or a force, and it remains the same throughout life. Many factors, external and internal, can act upon us and disturb us. Uh, And Ayurveda also believes that that each person has a unique pattern, like I was just saying a few minutes ago, and it's an individual combination of physical, mental, and emotional characteristics. This constitution is usually determined at birth, and it usually remains the same throughout life. So that is what Ayurveda calls it as prakriti, or our innate constitution, or our force or dominant forces. um, Many external factors and internal factors can act upon us and disturb this constitution, this internal constitution or energy. Okay, understanding these disturbances is a very important thing. And within the body, there's a constant interaction between what is order and then what is disorder, and so there's always constant fight between order and disorder, right? And that's what's happening. And the goal in Ayurveda is to fix that disorder, always bring it back to the order, right? So the disturbances can be dietary, could be mental, emotional, or can be physical due to weather, family, anything can be a disturbance. And balance is natural, right? It is what we want to come back to. So bringing it back to balance. When one can understand the nature, constitution, and structure of disorder, one can always help in um, re-establishing the order. So let's always think of in Ayurveda, the goal is to establish order back again. So I talked about energy, right? We can, when all these elements, the five elements that I talked about, earth, water, fire, air, and space. These are the five elements Ayurveda talks about. And when all these five are together, what will happen? So what happens is that it's energy, right? And we all have an innate energy. And Ayurveda's theory of physiological regulation involves the integrated function of these three types of energies Ayurveda describes, and that is present in everyone and everything. So when these five elements combine in different permutations and combinations, and based on which one is more, which one is less, then there are three types of energies that Ayurveda describes is created. And these three energies are, as we know, energy is required to function. So there's three functional energies that Ayurveda calls it as Vata, Pitta, and Kapha. Vata is the energy of movement, Pitta being the energy of metabolism, and Kapha being the energy of structure. So that is what Ayurveda is all about. Five elements, three constitutions, Vata, Pitta, and Kapha. The cause of disease is thought to be due to lack of proper cellular function, and due to excess or deficiency of one of these energies, right? Like it is could be Vata is more, something happens. Pitta is more, something happens. Kapha is more, something happens. So when they're all in balance and they're according to the person's constitution, and the elements are also there, then everything is fine. We are in balance. But when one of the elements goes out of balance, more or less, then what happens is the innate energies changes or fluctuates, and when there's inert energies fluctuate, then our constitution changes. Our innate constitution, our innate prakriti, our our innate energy has become modified, and that leads to uh, a disease or a disorder or imbalance. So the cause of disease is thought to be due to lack of, I already said that, sorry. Though everyone has the qualities of, everybody will have all these three constitutions. It's a mix, it's a combination. So some has more, some has less, and into some degree. And each person generally has a primary energy though. So you can be either Vata or Pitta or Kapha. One of them will be more dominating than the other. So one is dominating, or the primary energy. The other one is secondary, and then the last one is like a tertiary. So there's always a prominent energy within us, or a prominent force. And what happens is when the interplay happens, right? So when vata and ether, or like when air and ether come together, one is called vata. Fire and water happens, the person is called pitta. When water and earth happens, then it's called kapha. So kapha has water element and earth. Pitta has fire and water, and um, vata has air and ether. So because of air and ether being more, vata people will tend to be more hot and cold, while pitta will be hot and kapha will be usually cold. There's more water and earth. What other people, because of air and ether, are tend to be light. Pitta people are more light also because of fire and water, but there's fire. Well, kapha, because of both heavy qualities, water and earth, tend to be heavier. Vata people are drier, and pitta is more a little moist, and kapha is also a moist state. Other people are very mobile. Pitta is more unstable, and kapha is, people are very stable, usually very stable, very grounded. So again, vata, pitta, kapha are permutations of space, air, fire, water, and energy, earth. And the whole, in fact, Ayurveda believes that the whole cosmos is nothing but interplay of these energies and their elements. And that's why to manage, or to balance our mind, our body, and consciousness, it's important to understand how vata, pitta, kapha actually work together in a person. They're all present in every single one of them. We all have vata, we all have pitta, we all have kapha. So we all have all those five elements. Okay, there's no way one can have only one. So that's important to understand. So when we talk about balance, or we talk about imbalance, it's important to understand that the balance is all about doshas, or energy, and that is what we are talking about. Um, there's dominant dosha, that is our prakriti, and any treatment which we uh, give to our client or a patient is usually towards bringing the prakriti back to its normal state. And the treatment is personalized in Ayurveda and is towards the prakriti, towards the innate constitution of the individual. Okay, the treatment could be dietary, lifestyle, which is all very unique to Ayurveda. And changes to this unique innate constitution, or the prakriti, is known as vikruti, meaning it has moved away, the energies have moved away from balance to this imbalance or disorder. And that vikruti, imbalance or disorder, is causes our problems, and it could be internal or external factors which can make a person go out of balance or vikruti. And bringing it back to prakriti or order is what Ayurveda will tend to do. Okay. Um, so some of the diseases that can happen, for example, when in vata is out of, which is made of space and air, goes out of order, uh, is like dryness, right? Eczema. It's very common because vata is known to associate with movement, and it governs like breathing, pulsing of the heart, and movement and stuff like that. And when it's in balance, a person is very creative and very flexible, very happy, because that's what they are. A dominant vata people are very active. They usually look thinner, lighter, because they're very active, energetic, they're flexible, creative, and they always tend to be restless. When out of balance, these people tend to become nervous, fearful, and they become also anxious. Uh, then, like I said before, when it's out of balance, their skin is dry and rough and tends to wrinkle if not moisturized. These people also have few fat deposits, hence they're thinner usually. Then you'll need a lot of moisturizing, both externally and internally as well. They should eat a lot more fat. Not good for other people, but if you're vata prone, if your Ayurvedic practitioner tells you that you are vata, then you should maybe, and of course under the doctor's guidance, and if you have nothing else going on, definitely. And using some oil-based moisturizers to moisturize your skin, and consuming spices which make you warmer inside, because water people tend to be cold, like ginger and stuff is always good for a water person. Of course, remember that these are all very basic and simplistic descriptions of doshas. And of course, we in Ayurveda we say doshas form the fabric of people's complex physical and psychological constitutions. Um, but um, still, there's a lot of science behind it. I'll pause for a few seconds and resume in like 2 minutes. Just give me a break. Hello, I'm back. Hello. So we're back to our doshas and how what does each dosha look like in people. So for Pitta people, where fire and water is a dominant uh, element, these people are usually very muscular. They're socially and mentally very sharp people usually. Their digestion, assimilation, nutrition, metabolism, and body temperature is governed by fire and water for any one of us. So, Pitta, fire, and water usually governs that. When it's in balance, these people who are more Pitta dominant will be very logical, they're very good leaders. But when they're out of balance, they can be angry, they can have hatred, obsessiveness, competition, and jealousy. All these kind of features are common. Because of fire and water, these people also will tend to have an oily skin, and they can be prone to acne and things like rosacea, red skin, more flushing kind of things. If pitta is also high, uh, eating hot foods, foods, sorry, which can make it like warm you up, like chilies and all that can lead to an imbalance also. So one has to be careful. Cooling diets like cucumber is very good for these people, the people who have high pitta or have more fire and more water in them. And then there are always like these cooling herbs like aloe vera, turmeric, uh, are also very great for people suffering with a pitta imbalance. And or if you're suffering from an inflammatory thing like pimples or acne and redness, sandalwood is also very good. So these are some of these herbs that can be used for people who have a pitta imbalance uh, and are suffering from any of these issues or challenges. So this is very important to understand what your innate constitution is, right? It helps. Um, then let's go to kapha. Kapha is a very interesting thing. A constitution, if it is somebody has more earth and water in them, right? Kapha is like very very important for all of us to some degrees to have it, because it is the one thing that keeps cells and all together. It's like a glue. Kapha is water. Water is an earth, right? So it's very important. It's an important two elements. It supplies all the water to the body, lubricates our joints, moisturizes our skin, and maintains our immunity. So it's very important. When in balance, it brings calmness and forgiveness to people. But when it's dominant or kapha is in balance, then it becomes it. Oh, sorry. When it's in dominant, sorry, it brings strength, endurance, and stamina to us. But when it's out of balance, that's what I was trying to say earlier, these people can become overweight, very attached, very stubborn, very envious, jealousy, and greedy as well. Skin in kapha people is usually cold and but can be oily. Again, we think about earth and water, right? They can be prone to acne, pimples, whiteheads. Cystic acne is very common in kapha people, and water retention. So they retain a lot of water if it's an imbalance, that is. Otherwise, we all have kapha in us. We need it. Right? It's because that's how it helps in keeping ourselves together. So, removing obstructions, stimulating the lymphatic system, exfoliating, and all can be very important, because water is what helps us with immunity, right? So, kapha is very helps us fight immune based, gives us immunity to infections, right? So for people who are having kapha, and if they have skin related issues, they should always avoid oil-based creams, applying face mask regularly, and things like that. So they can warm themselves up, but also at the same time keep the oiliness down. So again, just wanted to before I leave, before we end the talk, just a couple of things is what the people, if it's in imbalance, then they'll have more gas issues, they'll have more constipation issues, they may suffer from insomnia, their skin may be dry, they maybe usually have a colder tendency, they could be underweight, they can be anxious. While pitta people could have burning, loose stools, oily rashes, skin hot, body temperature. They can also be angry and things like that if they are in imbalance. That is. While at the same time, if kapha is in imbalance, they can be heavy, sluggish, excessive, overweight, and they can be also prone to depression. So based on if you know what your constitution is, that's what the first thing the practitioner will do when you go to an Ayurvedic practitioner. They can help in helping finding a treatment strategy or regimen for specifically tailored and personalized for you. So that's the first thing they'll do, is to figure out what your constitution is. And once they figure out that constitution, what is your innate primary energy which is dominant in you? What are the elements that are dominant in you, right? And if once all of these are being figured out, that's helpful in deciding what are the causative factors. We call it nidana. What is causing all these changes in you? And once we figure the nidanas out, we can help tailor put together a tailored treatment. So so as a that's what will happen when you go to an Ayurvedic practitioner, right? They will try to understand your constitution. They'll try to understand any nature of imbalances. Um, they'll try to help you bring it back to balance. They'll ask for your health history. They'll look at your structure. They'll look at mental and diet analysis. Um, In Ayurveda, one important thing is also to look at your pulse. So they'll probably, if they can, they'll also look at your pulse, examine your pulse. And one more thing is very important in Ayurveda is the tongue. They'll also look at your tongue and see if everything is wrong. If this tongue can tell a lot about your health and body. Um, Follow after that, they'll give you some recommendations. They'll let you know how what is happening, what can you do. Most often they may give you a diet plan, or they may ask you to change or give up some food items or ingredients that you're taking. And in some cases they may also prescribe you some herbs, right? And then you can follow up with your practitioner. It's good to follow with them up with them every week to 10 days, because it's Ayurveda. Here is a lot of recommendations or suggestions or treatment strategies are usually based on diet, lifestyle changes. So that's important to up keep them going and checking with your practitioner. Sometimes it can be yoga, sometimes it can be meditation, things like that. So it's good to check back with your practitioner and adjust herbs and with the new recommendations, things like that. So the treatment program and plan is very a thing that is collaborative between you and your practitioner. So it needs a constant um, dialogue between you and the practitioner, so that things can be approached in a disciplined way, and you um, can continue with that, right? Uh, and help and benefit from the treatment. So that's all for today. Uh, Thanks for listening. And if you have any questions, please let me know. And don't forget, beauty and good health comes from within. Let's try to balance our mind, body, and our consciousness as well, so we can balance and bring harmony to our health, our daily life. Thanks for listening. Bye.